Okay, so I literally just a few minutes ago finished recording the first part of this list, which was number 10, number 9, number 9, and number 8. Put some stuff away, got some of the other props. Now we get to do 7, 6, and 5. If we get to number 4, we get to number 4. But 7, 6, and 5 to me have to be talked about together. Because as I was doing the list, and like, I know these are like, the 10 shows were the 10 shows. Like, it was kind of no question what was here. It was a question about the order. And I kept going back and forth with these three. It's like, what is above what? What's above who? If I'm being honest, they're basically all even. But, like, I didn't want to have, like, a whole lot of ties. Like, I feel like Pokemon and Dragon Ball fill that same kind of niche, so that's okay. These are 3 completely different shows, although 2 of them are time loop stories, so there's some similarities. But the execution is very, very different. So, let's just go ahead and get into it. Obviously, you can look at the description and see what they are, but let me have this. Let me pretend you don't know. Number 6 is Steins Gate. Or, excuse me, number 7 is Steins Gate. See, even now, I'm like, wait, should it actually be number 6? I don't know, but there's something to me about saying that Steins Gate is only number 6. I keep doing it. Only number 7, making it even worse. That feels so wrong. Because holy fuck, I love Steins Gate. I think I watched it over the course of like 2 days, not including like the OVA and whatnot. And the first day, I enjoyed it. I actually tried watching Steins Gate a couple times before and just didn't really get into it. But understood, it's like, I keep hearing the show is phenomenal. And like, I know like when it gets going, I'm gonna be hooked. And yeah, so I watched the first core in one day. And this was in law school. This was during exams week. And I remember, I was like, I could study, but like, let me watch it. Actually, I think I watched it around Thanksgiving. I think that's right, because I had like stayed behind, because like, I don't want to go all the way out to Oklahoma, then go all the way back to California for like a weekend. And it like just arrived in time for me to watch it over the break. I think that's what happened. But I remember watching the first half and liking it fine. Then Mayuri gets killed. And the moment that happened, and I almost said Okuron because I've been watching Dan. The second Okurin uses it to go back and save her, and it fails. I realized what I was in for. And I was like, okay. Like, I enjoyed this. I was liking it. Because let me talk about what I like about the first half before I get into why the second half is like the ambrosia of the Greek gods. The first half, I like the methodical pace. Steins Gate is slow, but to me it's not like... It's not way too slow. It's not painfully slow. You're making progress every time. You're dealing with time travel and trying to understand, how does time travel work? Is it like multiple worlds? Is it like, yeah, you can just go back to a point. Like, how do we do this? How do we do this without turning into a green gooey banana? Sorry, again, thinking about Dan. We need your banana. Dan is not on the list. It's great, though. I like that. I like the pace a lot. I like the fact that we're really learning alongside the characters. I like the characters. Steins Gate has a very small cast, and I feel like there are some characters I like a lot more than others, but I generally more or less kind of like everybody. And then our main core of, again, I hate that I'm actually forgetting my boy's name. This is bothering me. It's like, she calls him Okarin. So, like, that's just what his name is in my head. I'm like, shit. Okabe. Isn't that like Rintaro Okabe? Yeah, he's just Okarin. His interactions with Kudasu are so funny. I love these two. I love the way they interact off each other. I think Mayuri is just a sweetheart. Is she, like, the most interesting character, at least in the first half? No, but I still like her enough. I find her endearing. Daru to me is a bit like, there's times where I'm like, I don't know, but I like him enough. I like how Suzu is just kind of like, all right, this is the shit we're doing. I'm just kind of down for anything. And anytime she sees Kurisu, it is just on sight. Like, this is interesting. I think I know where this is going with you. And I was right. Like, I called that John Teeter shit early, and I was really excited about that. And then you get the second half, where all the methodical pace and like slow building erupts. The first half of Steins Gate, once they understand how time travel works, because say what you will about Ocarine, he wants to make his friends happy. He starts doing them little favors that are making their lives better, but drastically altering the world around him. And the more they do it, the more that the man, CERN, but like the man finds out, and they have to do something about it, which is what leads to Mayuri dying. So, to undo that, you have to undo everything. And the moment they said that, or like, we have to undo every D-mail, I immediately realized what that meant. Oh God, Kurisu's gonna have to die. Oh no. Oh, I don't know if I'm gonna be ready for that. And the second half is watching a man who is known for his ego and his bravado being broken down by the world around him. Not because, like, oh, society is a cruel, awful place kind of shit, and just like, no. He's being broken by the fact that to save his best friend's life, he has to undo the happiness he gave to other people. And slowly but surely doing just that. And how it just keeps eating him up, and like he undoes something, but it's not enough. My friend is still dying, and even before that, he keeps trying and he can't save her. He's like, I have to do this, and the desperation to actually pull this shit off, and it's not enough, and then the desperation to pull the next thing off, and all the difficulties, and it's not enough, and it's never enough. Episode 16, which is the Suzu episode, is incredible. And the ending is such a gut punch every time. But it has never made me cry. That's what episode 17 is for. That's the Ferris episode. I have watched it thrice. I have seen Steins Gate all the way through twice. And I watched, when Clay was watching it for the first time, I don't know if he's rewatched it. When Clay was watching it, I watched some of the second half with him. And I saw that episode, and every time I've seen it, I've cried. I think it is a combination of the gut punch of the Suzu episode, the overwhelming just despair of the second half in general, and also just this woman pleading with her friend to let her dad live. And him ultimately saying no. Which, to be fair, it's not like he looks her in the eye and says no. Because I think he's like, I can't ask you to do that. I can't. Like, I have to save Mayuri, but I can't ask you to do that. And she does it anyways. But just, that episode will always make me cry. And it's not even like a personal thing where, like, I've lost my dad or anything. It just hits every time. The first time I watched Steins Gate and I watched the second half, I was like, I have to binge this. But it was hard. Like, it was so emotionally devastating. I could not get through it. The second time when I'm watching it with Clay, I'm like, I know how this ends. It has a happy ending. Like, everything works out. I can't watch this anymore. It just hurts. Oh, man. It is, for me, the second half is grueling to get through. But it's so satisfying. I love when he realizes what the last D-mail is. And it's, do I choose my dearest friend or the woman I love? Because that is a fascinating decision. I love when you realize the whole mad scientist thing is less because, yeah, this guy's just kind of a loon or whatever, and it's rooted in his relationship with Mayuri, and that when Mayuri was younger, she lost her grandma, like she was kind of going through depression. It's kind of how I understand it. And it might not be necessarily that she was contemplating suicide, but it seemed like it was kind of there. And him saying, I'm a mad scientist and I'm kidnapping you. I'm not letting you leave. Fuck, dude. How is this only number 7? Oh, man. Let me just move on. I don't know what else I could say about Steins Gate, dude. It just fucks me up. I think it's phenomenal. Like I said, 7 through 5, I feel like on any given day, I could be convinced to put them in a different order. I'm going to leave Steins Gate at number 7, and we're going to move on to number 6. The other time loops. I can't say... saying the other time loop story makes it sound like these are the only 2 on my list. And if you know anything about me, you already know what number 1 is. But the other time loop story for this video, it's Higurashi. It's When They Cry. And by the way, on the Blu-rays, it does not say Higurashi, When They Cry, or Nanaku Koroni. It's just When They Cry. So it's under W. I alphabetize my shit. I put these under H, because I'm not going to look for When They Cry. I'm going to look for Higurashi. Also, another bit of Higurashi merch I want to show off is I have a Retta figure. And this makes me happy, because I love Retta. Look at that smile. Look at how happy... I don't know how well you can actually see. There you go. Look at how happy she is. What a nice person. Don't pay attention to the... I don't know how well you can actually see the bill hook. Don't pay attention to the weapon in her hand. Just look, she's smiling. She's holding her hand out. I also have... a commission I got. It's right there on the wall. Let me move the phone a little bit closer. Hope you can see it pretty well. That I got of Rena. This was at a con. It was after I watched Higurashi. I was like, I really want some Higurashi merch at like this con. I couldn't find any, and there was a dude offering commissions. I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a Rena commission real quick. I want something Higurashi. That was before I had the Blu-rays, and obviously before the figure. So... why do I love Higurashi, and then why do I put it above Steins Gate? Let me talk about why I put it above Steins Gate first, because I think that's easier. Because to me, even as much as I say I love the first half of Steins Gate, and I do, I like the methodical pace. I like getting to know everybody, and wow, it makes the second half brutal. I feel like Steins Gate is a show where the second half is impeccable, and the first half is good. Higurashi is just a banger the entire way through. The first arc is... I love Onikakushi so much. Like, just how creepy it is, how violent it is. The way it starts just, like, with the shit with the bat is brutal. And it just kind of keeps going from there. So, I have to kind of explain how Higurashi works. It's based on a VN in which there are 8 routes. You have your 4 question routes and then your 4 answer routes. The question routes, like, here's the crazy shit happening, and it's all incredibly violent. Actually, I think Akasaka's is one of them, and it's not, like, super violent. But it's like, what is going on here? Then the answer routes are, we're starting to answer some of the questions. It's not necessarily, here's this route from someone else's perspective, although 2 of them are like that, with like, there's a question and answer that... It's just, here's some more information so you can kind of start to figure it out, blah, 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 blah. And C-Cats does it the same way. It's the same dude. The horror stuff, because season 1 is all of the question arcs plus 2 more, whereas the second season is, here's the last 2 answer arcs, plus like some anime original stuff that, from what I understand, is like, this is really important information that wasn't in the first season but is in the VN. Here's like an arc to kind of give some of this information. And I haven't read the VN. I really want to at some point. Season 1 is a lot more horror focused. It's really emphasizing the violence and the paranoia. And as fucked up as it probably sounds, I enjoy it a lot. But I also really like our main group. It's just a bunch of kids hanging out, playing games, finding ways that they can cheat and like take advantage of each other, and in a fun kind of way, dealing with Hinamizawa. I love Hinamizawa. It is one of those settings that, to me, really feels like its own character. With its vibe, with its atmosphere, just the fucking sound of the cicadas. Cicada. Why did I say cicada? Weird. The sound of the cicada hum is music to my ears. The Curse of Oyashiro, and just how it's always hanging over the town, the Watanagashi festival, and I was like, all right, it's time for Watanagashi. Everything's about to go to shit. I love it. There's a reason, because I said this a couple videos ago, I don't remember I was talking about Sakura Quest, that's right. Whenever there's like a village in the middle of nowhere, it's kind of in the boonies, especially if it's something in Japan, there's a reason I default to calling it Hinamizawa, because this place has just stuck with me for so long. I think it's great. Higurashi, at its core, despite all the violence, the paranoia, and the time loop, which we'll get to in a bit, it is fundamentally a story about friendship. And not just like, yeah, you know, my friends are my power, which I was talking about Kingdom Hearts the other day. You know how much I love that stuff in Kingdom Hearts, and how much I love that scene in particular. It's something that really resonates with me. It is about finding your people. And not only connecting with them, but just kind of saying, hey, you're my guy, you're my girl. What can I do for you? How can I help you? For Keiichi and Satoko, that's how can I help you? Your uncle's abusing you? He won't anymore. I won't let him. Oh gosh, Keiichi. Or even like Mion and Shion, which they're not friends, they're sisters, like they're family. It's something a little bit different. And it's like, hey, I have an idea. Like, let's like use twins and like switching places and stuff. We'll kind of mess with Keiichi, but I'll see what I can figure out for you. We'll kind of get that stuff worked out. When you get to Rena's arc, which is so good, and the fight on the roof. Hey, it's just cool. Like, all right, Bat versus Billhook, who's gonna win? But how, as nuts, like as completely far gone as Rena is in that moment, Keiichi saying, you're my friend, and I'm going to do what I can to bring you back. And I think at one point he's like, you know what? I'm going to choose to believe you because you're my friend. I believe in you, and I trust you. And it is that friendship and that trust that gets them through to the end. Because what is the thing that always goes to shit when you have Hinamizawa syndrome? It's the paranoia. It's not being able to trust the people you love. It's not being able to put trust in your bonds. It's when they're able to completely work together and not deal with that shit that they're Gucci. There's also that scene between Hanyu and Takano where Takano goes to the goes to make an offering and Hanyu throws it back. That was hype. I absolutely love that scene. But let's actually talk about the time loop. Because in the first season, Rika is just this very adorable, almost like cat-like kind of little girl. Ain't I sweet? And then you actually get to meet Rika in the second half. And you realize that Keiichi is not the main character and has never been the main character. It's been Rika the entire time. And I like that twist. It's the kind of twist that I find it can be really interesting. I've talked about in other games like Final Fantasy IX or Tales of Arise, how recontextualizing the plot can really work, and sometimes, in those cases, for me, really not work. Higurashi is one where I think it absolutely works. Like, okay, this is what's really going on. Here's your real main character, and she is aware of everything. She has lived through every timeline, and has died in every timeline. That fucking scene with the knife. That lives in my head. Okay, there's a lot of scenes that live in my head rent-free. There's that one. There's the fingernails. I really hate the fingernails. There's something about fingers. Like, that's like my thing, where I'm like, I don't like fingers. I don't like finger destruction. I don't know why. It's just, that's the thing that always, like, ugh. When you really get to know Rika, she is this heavily jaded individual who has, like, maybe like kind of ironically, as someone who's read Sea Cats, someone who has no hope in a miracle. That there is no way out of this. I can't be saved. My friends can't be saved. With the exception of Mion, I have seen every single one of them snap. And that's important to me. Not the fact she's seen everyone snap, but it's specifically the fact that she notes Mion has never done it. And I'm not going to go on a whole rant about Higurashi Go. I refused to watch it once you really get the twist. They're like, oh, I hate this. As soon as there's a route or like a point in the timeline where Mion is the killer, I'm like, this is wrong. Because even in the original, even with all the shit going on, never Mion. Because she never lost faith in her friends. Good shit. And then Rika gets hope. And it's from seeing these routes. And it's the moments when there's clarity instead of paranoia. I love that shit. I really do. What I love about Higurashi, and I feel like I've said that a few times, like, yeah, I love the cast. I love the setting. I love seeing a time loop. I love all the crazy horror shit. It is fundamentally a story about not only friendship, it is a story about hope. That as hard as it can get, and as much as there are times you cannot see the way through, there is still a way through. To not give up. I remember stumbling upon like a gacha anime. Like, I haven't seen the show. I don't know what it's called. It was just like a clip on my YouTube feed. And it was like, there was like some people, like these people were fighting these people, and the one group summoned most of the main cast from Higurashi as like part of their gacha. And the other person they were trying to fight was like, well, I have the 5-star, and that was Rena. I'm like, Rena would be the 5-star. That's hilarious. And like, all right, I'm going to just say servants because I play Fate Go. Your servants are going to fight my 5-star servant. We'll see who wins. And like, mine's going to win, blah, 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 blah. And the cast does not fight each other. They'll like get together lock hands and they say something along the lines of, we went through a lot together. And a lot of that was because we turned on each other. And we made a pact to never turn on each other again. And then they just walk out. And to me, I'm like, that is the perfect representation of what Higurashi is. And the bonds between these, the bonds between this cast. We are stronger together. My friends are my power. Like, we are stronger together. And when we're together, nothing can break us. So why would we break ourselves? I love it. I sincerely love Higurashi. But now he gets to number 5. The actual number 5. And again, you can look in the description. You can see what number 5 is. But if you'll indulge me for just a bit, I have a very special prop. I have Dongo. I actually been waiting to eat this. And I wanted to bring up some Dongos when I talk about Clannad. When I was deciding between these three, I had Clannad at number 7. I had Steins Gate at 6 and Higgs at 5. And to me, I'm not going to eat all 3 of these Dongo, but I'm going to eat this whole thing while talking about Clannad. You can't stop me. To me, that just made sense. So Steins Gate is such a grueling emotional wreck. And Higurashi, I think, has the best first half and second half collectively. Like I said, to me, that's why it's ahead of Steins Gate. Clannad, I like the first half a lot, especially on subsequent rewatches, because I've watched it all the way through like thrice. I've also only watched Higurashi all the way through once. I won't go and say that. But, I think both halves are good, but After Story, the back like 2/3 or so of After Story are why it's as high as it is. Oh. Sorry, I understand just how fucking stupid this is, but let me have this. I genuinely love Dongo. It's one of my favorite things from Japan. Why I live in Okinawa. That's not why Clannad is so high. It's kind of neat. But here's why Clannad is as high as it is. It does not have a 100% cry rate, the way Steins Gate does. Because I did not cry the first time I saw Clannad. And I have no idea how I did. Because there's this one scene where, aside from that first time, I've cried every time I've seen it. And I don't just mean when I'm watching the show. There have been times where I've just watched that scene out of context, without watching all of the first season, without watching everything else in After Story, and I have cried. There have been times where I've just thought about that scene, or like talked about it, like discussed it with someone, and have cried. Literally every time but the first. I don't know how that even happened. And we'll get to it. Boy, we're going to get to it. If Higurashi is a show about friendship, Clannad is a show about family. And it's very similar. Where it's also a show about, found family. Because Tomoya doesn't really have one. Because of how terrible his relationship with his dad is. He's basically by himself. And then he essentially gets adopted by the Furukawas. And, oh god, I love these 3. I did not care for Akio and Sanai when I was first watching the show. To be fair, I really didn't like most of the cast when I was first watching it. I've referred to Clannad as like a benign tumor, where it's something, like, for me, the first time, I was like, it's something that grows on you, but it's not a bad thing. It just, I guess you just kind of get used to it and adapt to it, and it's just weirdness. The last time I watched it with my dad. That was a couple years ago. And there's two moments from watching it with my dad that live in my head rent-free. First, there was a point where I told him, I don't remember when it was. I don't know if it's like once we got to Ushio, if it was like once we started After Story. I had told him there is going to be a point where I cry, because I cry every time. And there was a point, it's when Nagisa dies, when he looked at me and went, "Are you crying? Like, is this it? Is this what gets you?" I'm like, this isn't it. This is incredibly sad. This is beautiful. I hate it. But this isn't it. Then we get to it. We get to the Daddy's Arms scene. Where... I can't talk about I'm crying. I don't know why. Where... Tomoya is finally trying to be a good dad and get his shit together and power through and overcome his grief to look after his child. And she's looking for the toy that he bought her that she lost. And she refuses to leave until she finds it. And he's like, I don't get it. Like, I could just buy you a new one. It's fine. And then she tells him it's not fine because another one wouldn't do. Because that's the first time you've ever bought me anything. This is important. And when he says that, and he realizes, he's like, my daughter's like 5. And I've never bought her anything. It's not that he doesn't realize, like, how shit of a dad he is. It's he just thoroughly never cared. And this is the moment where it really dawns on him how much he has to change. And then his daughter tells him, he's like, so Sanai, who's grandma, but it's like when she tells me there's only 2 places I'm allowed to cry. When I'm alone in the bathroom, or when I'm in Daddy's arms. And he holds his daughter, and she cries, and then I cry. And then you get to the scene right after, when they're on the train, and she's like, hey, can you tell me about Mom? And he starts telling her about Nagisa and how much he loves her. And he starts crying, and I keep crying. Oh, man. It's every time. Except the first time. I don't know how I didn't cry that first time. I finally read the VN earlier this year, and I will be completely honest, I think the anime is way better than the VN. It still got me when I got to it in the VN. I was like, yep, it's the Daddy's Arm scene. It's gonna get me. But when we got to this scene, there was a point partway through it where my dad looks at me. He's kind of joking. He's like, is this the scene that always makes you cry? I'm like, I'm literally crying right now. And I just remember his reaction was just kind of, oh. And not like a, oh, this got you. I'm like, oh, like, my bad for kind of making fun of you. But, like, I it lives in my head rent-free. It's like, that was a really funny interaction between the two of us. Then there's the other one, which is a little bit later. Where at one point Tomoya comes home. There's his daughter. Because now his daughter's actually living with him. I'm going to put a massive fucking pin in that, by the way. Oh, God. He comes home. And his daughter, like, runs up to the door because she's so happy that her dad is home. And my dad, like, points at the screen and says, that is the greatest feeling in the world. when you come home after a long day and your kids run up to see you because they're so happy that you're back. And the day that that stops is the worst feeling you will ever have in your life. And that didn't make me cry. That hurt. And he didn't mean it that way. It's not like he was like being accusatory or anything. It's just, saying something. But I felt that. And I was like, man, I feel like a fucking piece of shit. And that's why Clannad is so high. Like, well, we'll address the pin. But it's a show about family, and like with Higurashi, it's about finding your people, which is something I relate to a lot. And not to say like anything about my family, like the people I'm like stuck with from birth, they fucking rule. I love them so much. But as someone who had to move a lot, I've had to find my own people, and I'm very attached to them. So that's something I really appreciate. It's something that makes me cry all the damn time. And I gotta respect that. And Daddy's Arms ain't the only thing, because like on rewatches, I've cried during other points. Like there's the point where Sanai realizes she can't see Fuka anymore. Ow. Wait, no, it's Fuko. Sorry. There's also there's also the scene during Fuko's arc where after Tomoya and Nagisa forget her, and then they remember. And Fuko's right there. You understand, she's been there the entire time, hearing her friends talk about how they don't remember her. That hurt. I don't know if Katomi's arc has ever made me cry, but it's beautiful and easily my favorite part of season 1. It's fantastic. I know I've cried at the ending. Just that shot at the end of little baby Tomoya holding his dad's hand is beautiful, and the music is beautiful, and it's like rough as hell. There might be like another moment or two that have gotten me, but like being able to consistently make me cry does a lot. It's not the only show I've seen with my dad. I watched Kino's Journey with him. He enjoyed it quite a bit. I watched Steins Gate with him, and he's like, nah, it's fine. I watched Madoka with him, and he seemed to like it okay. He really loved Clannad. And having those moments that I'm gonna remember forever of watching it with him. A show about family. Really put it up there for me. I also love that fucking Dongo song. Anytime I like hear that motif, it's not like I start crying, but I almost do. It's like prepping me. It's like putting a spice rub on a roast before you put it in the oven. It's like, yeah, I'm getting prepped. This giant pin that I have. Where are we at? Is that 38 minutes? Okay, but I've also noticed it's getting a little bit darker. I'm just going to turn the light on real quick. There we go. Yeah, that's better. Taking the giant pin out. The other thing I love about Clannad is it's not just Tomoya and Ushio. It's also his relationship with Nagisa. It's once they get married. It's him getting his life together. It's him getting his shit together. Once After Story stops adapting the side arcs, like Yukine's and Mai's. Is Mai her name? Oh, it's like Misai, I think. I'm thinking of like the Den Mother. Because the Den Mother, Yukine, who's like the girl who's friends with like all the gangsters and shit, and then Tsunohara's. Speaking of characters who I used to hate, gosh, Sunohara is so annoying. Also, speaking of characters I love, Sunohara is fucking perfect. I love this moron. Like, once the side arcs are done, and it's really just adapting after story. It is a show about a boy becoming a man. And him saying, like, I have to get my life together for the people I love, for the people who are depending on me. And I love that. And I remember the first time I watched it saying, I'm really enjoying this. If I were to watch this again in like 10 years, it's gonna hit different. And as someone who is currently not married and doesn't have a kid, it doesn't hit quite as differently as I thought it might, but it still does, because I am an adult and I've got shit to do and my own shit to take care of. And in some ways, I struggle with that. In other ways, I genuinely excelled. And it's something I've talked about like these past couple months. Just in a lot of ways, I have tried to be getting better and getting my shit together in various kinds of ways. After story, not Clannad in general, but after story in particular, really resonate with me in that way. This is something that's a bit more, like, it's still in the anime, but is made more apparent in the VN, is also karma. And just being a good person and helping the people in your life, and like really getting to know them and really caring about them and really loving them, paying dividends. That's what really saves him and his family at the end. And it's like supernatural, magical bullshit, and like it's whatever. I like it fine, like the way it's executed. I think it's one of the few things I liked more in the VN. But I do just kind of like that sense that, like, yeah, you know, what goes around comes around. And that's not just like, yeah, if you're a bad person, like you're an asshole, it's gonna bite you in the ass. Like, no, if you're someone who is really genuinely loves the people in your life and you're authentic with that and you let them know, that can come around too. I clearly, absolutely love Clannad. We're at 42 minutes. I could stop. That's not the way Team Dai Gurren rolls. Let me talk about Tengen, Toppa, Gurren Lagann for a bit. So after talking about Steins Gate, I'm like, this is so hard to watch, I'm crying. Or Higurashi, where it's like, alright, I love all the crazy shit. I think it's like a phenomenal 2 seasons and all of that. And it's the story about friendship. Or Clannad and about family and how much it makes me cry. Why is this thing so high? Because Gurren Lagann is that last like 2/3 or whatever of after story the entire way through. It is about gritting those teeth and getting your shit together and becoming the person you have the potential to be. In the first episode, Kamina says to Simone, when Simone's like, I don't think I can do this, I don't believe in myself. Kamina tells him, then just believe in me. Believe in the me who believes in you. I love that shit. I love how, like, Yoko sees that as, like, that is, like, the stupidest thing I've ever heard. What are you talking about? And when Simone hears it, he goes, yes, that makes sense to me. Let's do it, bro. Because there is something to be said when someone you love and someone you admire believes in you. Because sometimes you don't always see it in yourself. But when they say, you can do this, I believe in you. And if you don't believe in yourself, like, do you trust, like, you know, it's even like, well, come on, you trust me? Like, do you trust me? Yes. Okay. Then trust the person I trust, and that's you. I love shit like that. And then my boy spouts some wisdom before he goes. Don't believe in the me who believes in you. Don't believe in the you who believes in me. Believe in the you who believes in yourself. Because I have seen you grow, and you have seen you grow, and you have seen those leaps that you have made. See it for yourself now. And he does. There's still some steps, because Kami just fucking died, and he's like, if I was better, it wouldn't have happened. But watching Simone's growth... let me talk about one of my favorite scenes in any show ever. The Simone the Digger speech. I'm going to try to say it from memory, and I don't know if I can. But fuck it, we ball. When Simone just, like, pops up, arms crossed, like cloak billowing, and he says, my bro is dead. He's gone. But he's on my back, and he's here in my heart. Shit, I actually don't remember what he says after that. I already... But what he's saying is, like, look, I understand that he's gone. But he's still here. I represent him because he's our fucking flag, and he is part of my soul. He will never leave. And the impact that he left will always stay here. If he thought that I can dig to the heavens, I'm gonna dig to the fucking heavens. Because that's what I do. That's who I am. You wanna know who the hell I am? I'm me, Simone the Digger, and I'm about to kick your ass. It is the culmination of his growth and development and him truly stepping out of Kamina's shadow. And that man leaves a big shadow. And it's glorious. And then you get the second half, which is kind of weird. And there's things in the second half where I'm like, I still like it, but I don't think I like it as much as the first half. But at the same time, at that point, like, the shit when, like, I don't remember exactly what the context is, but the ship is, like, stuck in some kind of, like, anti-gravity or anti-spiral energy negation field, whatever the hell. And they're essentially told, you literally have a 0% chance of success, and they do it anyway. I don't remember if it's that scene or another. It's probably that. When Simone is told the odds of success, and he says, I don't care, it might as well be 100. Because we're going to do this. Because I am here, and you're all here. And you think we're going to lose? No. You kick logic to the curb, and you do the impossible. That's how Team Gurren rolls. Row, row. Fight to power. God, that song is so stupid, and it's the greatest thing I've ever heard. I love Libera Me from Hell. Gurren Lagann, at its core, is a show about the indomitable human spirit. If Higurashi is, like, it's about friendship, but it's also about hope, and Clannad is about, like, family and being the saddest thing you've ever seen, but it's also, like, you know, like, karma and, you know, growing up and becoming a man and, like, becoming an adult. Gurren Lagann is about becoming who you're supposed to be. And kind of like what I was saying with Higurashi, never giving up. Because why should you ever give up with your limitless potential, with all of your skill, with everything that you can do and everything you have to offer, why should you give up? Who's gonna stop you? No one. That is what it's about. And for me, that's really, really hard to top. Clearly 3 shows have. And you might be kind of surprised when I get to them, be like, that one did? Really? We all know what number 1 is. But, where are we at? We're at 50 minutes. I think this is a good place to stop and to cut it. I've got 3 left. I don't know if I'll do that today because I don't know how much more space my phone has after 2 hours of videos. We'll see. I might stop here. I might finish it tomorrow. I plan on watching Wicked here in a bit, so this really might be a good time to stop, but I will see you around. I don't know why I snapped. Just kind of felt nice.